The UFC is back. They are heading to Paris, and I am going to give you my PrizePicks entry for that event. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, it's daily fantasy. You come in here, you say more or less than any of the numbers you see on the screen, and you can make some very real money. They will even give you free money to play. All you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. Use promo code WWP. Build yourself an entry for a couple of bucks, and they'll give you 50. If you build one $5 entry, which I'm about to give you, they will give you $50 instantly that you can use for whatever you want. So my recommendation is go to wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. Use promo code WWP when you sign up. Build the entry I'm about to build for you. Throw $5 at it. Get your 50 instantly for free. And then take that 50 and build yourself the most confident two-leg entry you have ever had in your entire life. So you can then turn that 50 into 150. Very simple. We figured it out, guys. We figured out how to game the system. WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks, promo code WWP. I'm about to give you my UFC Paris entry because that's what we do here. But if you look across the top, we have every single sport. The WNBA is in their playoffs. Baseball is about to hit their playoffs. College football is happening. NFL is happening. NHL is around the corner. And the good news is when we have all these sports hanging out, ready to go, PrizePicks gives you all sorts of different bonuses because they're trying to get people to play. You can see here, all Caleb Williams has to do is throw a half a yard, and that line will hit. We have similar lines, similar bonuses, similar pushes in different sports. So when you come in here, build your entry for the sport that you love and the things you know most, and then go see what bonuses they have, and you can add that square and then potentially juice an already pretty easy payout. Let's head back to MMA and build out our UFC entry. Again, get your free money. WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks. Promo code WWP. PrizePicks is a ton of fun. It's every single sport. You hit some buttons. You're watching the sport. You're rooting for people. And hopefully you make a couple bucks doing it. We're going to start with significant strikes here. The very first one we're going to touch, I'm not going to touch her because I'm not a creep, but we're going to touch the significant strike line, is Jacqueline Cavalcanti's 76.5. And that seems like a pretty high number. But if you go through Jacqueline Cavalcanti's fight history, that's not that crazy of a number. And she has gotten to that number in the past, even in fights where she gets taken down, even in fights where she gets backed up. And now she's going to have Nora Cornolle just marching forward, staying in her face. This fight likely goes a full 15 minutes, and it gives Jacqueline Cavalcanti more and more opportunities to just land. I think Jacqueline Cavalcanti gets past the 76.5 strike number, which is why we have them more. Aylin Perez is at 41.5, and it's a similar story. The difference is Jacqueline is a striker, so her getting to her number is part of her game plan. Aylin Perez is a grappler, but if you run through her fight history and those statistics, we have seen Aylin Perez get past this number in fights that were 90% grappling, because she gets the takedown and she's busy on top. On her feet, she's bombing away before shooting. Aylin Perez is somebody that will just come forward at a high pace, throwing her hands crazy, getting it to the ground, throwing her hands crazy again. She has gotten past this number in the past, and I think she does it again. If she sticks with a wrestling game plan, I've seen her do it with my own two eyes, get to this number. If she sticks with a striking game plan, then we're definitely going to get to this number. So Aylin Perez, 41.5. We have the more there. The rest of these significant strike lines I don't love. There's too many variables here. Faraz Ziam is a low-volume snooze fest of a guy. Ludovic Klein might win that fight with the second punch that he throws. Cutelaba might not even get to throw a punch before he is unconscious on the floor or shooting takedowns. Umar Sy literally landed zero significant strikes in his UFC debut. Not one. Not one significant strike landed. And his number's 30, and everything in me was like, dude, the less. But we have a one-fight sample size, so we can't really go off that. Morgan Charrier, 40, seems like a low number. I want to go the more there, but he might smoke Gabriel Fly Miranda. So we're going to leave the rest of these alone. If we go to fight minutes, I do like the Cutelaba less. 6 fight minutes seems pretty high to me. The fact that Cutelaba doesn't get out of the first round very often helps us out here. The fact that Ivan Erslan, his opponent, has hands of stone and can knock you out cold, but also has no takedown defense, can work well as well. Can work in our favor as well. I think Cutelaba either gets knocked out pretty quick, does some knocking out, or shoots takedowns and finishes on the ground. I don't think this leaves the first round, so I'm pretty confident in that. If you look at a couple of these other ones, Umar Sy, the guy only has 2 decisions in his entire career. This number's like right smack middle of the road. We're going to leave that alone. Ludovic Klein, again, as I mentioned, he's a very technical striker. Maybe he wants to play with his food a little bit and just be a technical striker. Or maybe he just smokes Roosevelt Roberts, who has been smoked before. Bolaji is dangerous. Chris Duncan is dangerous. But they're both also very tough. That fight could very easily end early or go to a decision. So I don't like any of those. If we go to fantasy score, there are 2 that I like here. And I don't typically do them more on fantasy scores, but I love Ludovic Klein. I think he dominates this fight. And what's going to bode well for us here is he may actually work in some grappling as well. Roosevelt Roberts is super long, and when Ludovic Klein fought Ignacio Bahamondes, who was also very long, he had a wrestling game plan, shot a bunch of takedowns, worked from there. The difference here is Roosevelt Roberts is not nearly as durable as Ignacio Bahamondes. So I think Ludovic Klein puts on an absolute clinic. It's an absolute beating. And he finishes this fight and gets past 114 fantasy points. And I've got the exact same story here for Umar Sy. I think Umar Sy gets whatever takedowns he wants. I think he can knock out on the feet. I think he finishes this fight and he scores a ton of points on that way. This fight is set up for him to have some success. So I think those are just no-brainers to go the more there. Joe Anderson Brito's another guy I considered, but the reality is, for all we know, William Gomez is just going to dance around, do that French style, and just hide in the background and not be able to get taken down or finished. That's actually going to be my entry, but we'll take a look at takedowns for you. We have Alan Perez at 4.5, and the stats say that the over on that should be good, especially the fact that this fight's going to go the distance. But we've mentioned this many times before. All of a sudden, grapple-heavy fighters are not grappling. They're not shooting the takedowns that they have built their careers on. And I don't think that's going to happen with Aylin. She's squarely focused on doing what she needs to do, but I trust the fact that she's going to land more strikes than she will shoot a whole bunch of takedowns. So we're going to stick with the strike line there. Ludovic Klein, 1.5. That's a very enticing line, and you might want to build an entry and experiment with that because, again, last time he fought somebody very long and lean, he shot a bunch of takedowns. Umar Sy at 2.5, we're going to leave that alone. He might only need 1. He might get 10. He might just stay on the feet. Brito at 2 takedowns. This dude has big one-punch knockout power in his hands. Who says he's even going to shoot a takedown? And then Cutelaba, same thing. He might just need 1 single takedown, so we'll leave that alone. This is my entry. I do already have it placed. Let's take a look. We did Aylin Perez more than 41.5 significant strikes. Jacqueline Cavalcanti more than 76.5 significant strikes. The Cutelaba line, less than 6 fight minutes. And then Ludovic Klein, Umar Sy over their fantasy scores because I think they absolutely dominate. This is my entry. If you like this entry, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Build your own. But again, what was the strategy we talked about? You go to wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. You use promo code WWP. You build yourself a $5 entry. You can do it with this. $5 will pay out quite a bit of money here. So build yourself a nice $5 entry. I did a flex pay. So if I get all of these correct, I get $200. If I get 4 out of 5, I get $40. And if I only get 3 out of 5, which means I got 2 wrong, I still get some money. So build yourself a fun big entry with that $5. But as soon as you do that, they will give you $50. 50 real dollars in your account that you could use for whatever you want. Take the 50 and build yourself a very, very safe and very confident entry so that you can triple that 50. Turn it into 150. Now you got all sorts of money, and all you did was start with $5. WeWantPicks.com/prizepicks, promo code WWP.